In this video, I'm going to share with you the process of obtaining French nationality for our children born to British parents in France. Hello and welcome. My name's Mandy, and in this video I'm going to cover the process of applying for French nationality for a child born in France to foreign parents. What I'm going to cover is who qualifies, and I'm going to take you through the process of applying, including the documents that we were required to send and the things that we learnt along the way. Now, when we're as a family at home, we speak English, but our children consider themselves to be more French than English, and I can really understand that. Their only experience of living in the UK is as a holiday destination. Their written English skills are weaker than their written French, which makes French kind of their first language. They'll often talk to each other in French. They study French history, they're immersed in French culture, and all of their friends are French. So it was for this reason, as well as the obvious concerns around the uncertainty of Brexit, that we decided to look into applying for French nationality. Now, we started by, like most people, researching over the internet. And we had most success with the phrase nationalité française d'un enfant né en France de parents étrangers. And it was here that we found out that children born in France to foreign parents have the right, with certain criteria, to request French nationality. So, who qualifies? Well, to apply, the child must meet 3 criteria. They must have been born in France, have lived here permanently for 5 years since their 8th birthday, and they must also be living here on the day of declaration. So that second criteria means that the earliest you can apply is following a child's 13th birthday. And at this stage, it's the parents who must submit an application on behalf of the child. But from the age of 16, a child who meets the criteria can apply without parental authority, despite that they are a minor at that stage. So what is the process? We actually found it hard to get clear, accurate information from any website on the process. For our department, the 66, Les Pyrénées-Orientales, it was a 3-step process, and I only found this out when I spoke to somebody on the phone. So the first stage is to submit the required documents. The second is to wait to receive an appointment, and the third is to attend on a given day. So, looking at these steps in a bit more detail, first of all, submitting the documents. On the government website, there is an indicative list of the documents to support your application, but it advises you to contact your local prefecture. And I also found a list online of the documents required by our prefecture. But I would always advise phoning them, because the list on the website that I found contained big differences from the reality of what was required. So for us, here is a list of what we had to send in with our covering letter. And we'll also put this list in the description below. So most of these items are self-explanatory. We actually had to reorder a birth certificate by post, since 2 of our children were born in a different department from where we now live. But most departments have a system where you can order them online and they're sent out by post free of charge. For both their identity and ours, because we didn't at the time have a carte de séjour, we used our British passport. Now, we're married in the UK, so we don't have a livret de famille. So instead we provided our marriage certificate with an original sworn translation. The bit about divorce papers happily didn't concern us. For the proof of our child living in France, we included our allocation familiale from the CAF and our latest avis d'impôt. And for the proof of living continuously in France, we provided a certificate de scolarité, which we hadn't actually come across before, and I've included a picture or a sample of the format of a certificate. Because what we found is that our local college was far more au fait with how it works. And when I requested one, they provided one with absolutely no problem. She printed it off and stamped it there and then and gave it to me. But for the primary school, I actually had to write the words that I needed the head teacher to include in the letter. Now, what we've noticed is since September 2019, we've actually been given one for each child without having to ask. And it's happened just after la rentrée, towards the end of September. And the great thing is that they seem to be in a consistent format, regardless of whether the child attends college or lycée. And obviously the photo in the envelope don't need any explanation. So having submitted papers, we waited for an appointment, and we knew that in our department, appointments for an interview take place once a month on a Wednesday afternoon, so as not to disrupt a child's education. And for us, we sent our papers off during late February 2019, and we received a Convocation in March for an appointment on the 19th of April. And the appointment took place at the Tribunal d'Instance. So come the day of the Déclaration, the 19th of April, we'd been told only that our daughter would be required to answer some questions alone, and that our presence was also required to sign some documents, and we all had to bring identification with us. Now, prior to the day, we made sure that our daughter understood why we were applying for French nationality for her. We also brushed up on French history that she'd learnt in school, so we revised the fact that France used to have a monarchy and how it became a republic. We also ensured that she could recite the Marseillaise. And on the day, we arrived early, which was useful because it actually took us quite a bit of time to get through security, which has got the same restrictions as airport security. We went upstairs to a waiting area, which soon started to get really busy. And it was only then that we appreciated that everyone gets a convocation for the same time on the same day, and they work through the list in a seemingly random order, which is definitely not alphabetical. Now, it may be, I suspect, the order in which they received the completed dossier. So our daughter was called into a room on her own, and we were asked to join her about 5 minutes after. And when we got inside, the room was very informal. There was an office with a desk behind which there were two people, a judge, and it was actually the lady that I had spoken to about administration regarding the process. Now, we found out afterwards that the reason for taking the child in on their own is simply to ask why they would like French nationality, that they understand the significance, and that they're in agreement and happy to make the declaration of French nationality. So all the history and their learning of the Marseillaise were a complete waste of time. Once we were together in the room, they explained the document that we were about to sign, which was reasonably simple. It just stated who we all were, where we were born, our current address, and it confirmed that our daughter didn't want to change her name, and I'll come back to that a bit later. We as parents signed the document, which was compared to our proof of identity, and that was it. We came away armed with the declaration, which it was stressed that we shouldn't lose. And what was lovely about that was that we could go straight to the préfecture to ask for a carte d'identité, which our children couldn't have prior to this process. And it had always raised questions amongst their friends why they didn't have one. And they always felt a little bit different. So it was quite nice for them to have it. And we also chose to apply for the passport at the same time. So what did we learn? Well, we actually had quite a lot of learnings going through this process. The French don't recognise dual nationality, which we had no idea. So in France, once you declare your nationality as French, you are French. Now, they may recognise the possession of another nationality, but that bears no consequence on how you live in France. You have an option to change your name, and I said I'd come back to this. When you take French nationality, you have the option to change your name to perhaps make it more French. So there is a section in the Déclaration which states what your new name is, or the fact that you chose not to change your name. Now, we did talk about this before, but because all of our children were born here, we chose first names that work in both English and French. And we happen to have a very English surname, but our daughter considers that it's stylé, in her own words, so she chose to keep it. The other thing we didn't realise is at the age of 16, all children of French nationality have to complete a recensement, which involves registering at the mairie. And this process is required to pass a driving test and to take the baccalaureate. And they also have to undertake a half-day course entitled Defence and Citizenship. Something else we didn't know, at the age of 18, if a child meets the criteria of being born in France, living here for 5 years between the age of 11 and 18, French nationality is automatic, and if the child doesn't want it, then they must formally decline it and prove that they have another nationality. Now, all of that's documented on the government website, but it has to be done no earlier than 6 months before and no later than 12 months after their 18th birthday. Now, our daughter has recently turned 16, so we need to register her at the Mairie, and we'll let you know how that goes in a future video. Now, the video obviously has limited appeal, small audience, but if it has been useful, please click the like button. I'd be interested also to hear in the comments below if you've been through the process already in a different department. What was your experience like? Did you find it easy? Feel free also to ask any questions in the comments if something's not clear, and we'll respond. And with that, I wish you well. Until the next time.